At last Kpanja said, "Oh, well, master, you see I'm all right. You must brace up and prepare to hear my news, and do as I advise you." Go on, replied his master. "Explain what you will, I'll do whatever you require me to do. If you were to say, 'Lie down on your back, that I may roll you over the side of the hill,' I would lie down." "Well," said the Kpanja, "there is not much to explain just now, but I'll tell you this. I've seen many kinds of food that is desirable and food that is objectionable, but this food I'm about to offer you is very sweet indeed." "What?" said Musa. "Is it possible that in this world there is anything that is positively good? There must be good and bad in everything. Food that is both sweet and bitter is good food, but if food were nothing but sweetness, would it not be injurious?" Yawned the Kpanja. "I'm too tired to talk philosophy. Let's go to sleep now, and when I call you in the morning, all you have to do is to get up and follow me." So at dawn they set forth, the Kpanja leading the way, and for 5 days they journeyed through the forest. On the 5th day they came to a stream, and Kpanja said to his master, "Lie down here." When he had done so, the Kpanja set to and beat him so soundly that he cried out, "Oh, let up, I beg of you." "Now," said the Kpanja, "I'm going away, and when I return I expect to find you right here. So don't you leave this spot on any account." Then he ran away, and about 10 o'clock that morning he arrived at the house of the Sultan. Now, ever since the day Kpanja left the town, soldiers had been placed along the road to watch for and announce the approach of Sultan Ali. So one of them, when he saw the Kpanja in the distance, rushed up and cried to the Sultan, "Sultan Ali is coming. I've seen the Kpanja running as fast as it can in this direction." The Sultan and his attendants immediately set out to meet his guests, but when they had gone a little way beyond the town they met the Kpanja coming along alone, who on reaching the Sultan said, "Good day, my master." The Sultan replied in kind and asked the news, but Kpanja said, "Ah, do not ask me. I can scarcely walk, and my news is bad." "Why, how is that?" asked the Sultan. "Oh dear," sighed the Kpanja, "such misfortune and misery. You see, Sultan Ali and I started alone to come here, and we got along all right until we came to the thick part of the forest yonder, when we were met by robbers, who seized my master, bound him, beat him, and took everything he had, even stripping off every stitch of his clothing." "Oh dear! Oh dear! Dear me," said the Sultan. "We must attend to this at once." So, hurrying back with his attendants to his house, he called a groom, to whom he said, "Saddle the best horse in my stable, and put on him my finest harness." Then he directed a woman servant to open the big inlaid chest, and bring him a bag of clothes. When she brought it, he picked out a loincloth, and a long white robe, and a black overjacket, and a shawl for the waist, and a turban cloth, all of the very finest. Then he sent for a curved sword with a gold hilt, and a curved dagger with gold filigree, and a pair of elegant sandals, and a fine walking cane. Then the Sultan said to Kpanja, "Take some of my soldiers, and let them convey these things to Sultan Ali, that he may dress himself and come to me." But the Kpanja answered, "Ah, my master, can I take these soldiers with me and put Sultan Ali to shame? There he lies, beaten and robbed, and I would not have anyone see him. I can take everything by myself." "Why," exclaimed the Sultan, "here is a horse, and there are clothes and arms. I don't see how a little Kpanja can manage all those things." But the Kpanja had them fasten everything on the horse's back, and tie the end of the bridle around his own neck, and then he set off alone, amidst the wonder and admiration of the people of that city, high and low. When he arrived at the place where he had left the beggar man, he found him lying waiting for him, and overjoyed at his return. "Now," said he, "I have brought you the sweet food I promised. Come, get up and bathe yourself." With the hesitation of a person long unaccustomed to such a thing, the man stepped into the stream and began to wet himself a little. "Oh," said the Kpanja impatiently, "a little water like that won't do you much good. Get out into the deep pool." "Dear me," said the man timidly, "there is so much water there, and where there is much water there are sure to be horrible animals." "Animals? What kind of animals?" "Well, crocodiles, water lizards, snakes, and at any rate frogs, and they bite people, and I'm terribly afraid of all of them." "Oh, well," said Kpanja, "do the best you can in the stream, but rub yourself well with earth, and for goodness sake, scrub your teeth well with sand. They are awfully dirty." So the man obeyed, and soon made quite a change in his appearance. Then the Kpanja said, "Here, hurry up and put on these things. The sun has gone down, and we ought to have started before this." So the man dressed himself in the fine clothes the Sultan had sent, and then he mounted the horse, and they started, the Kpanja trotting on ahead. When they had gone some distance, the Kpanja stopped and said, "See here. Nobody who sees you now would suspect that you are the man who scratched in the dust heap yesterday. Even if we were to go back to our town, the neighbors would not recognize you, if it were only for the fact that your face is clean and your teeth are white. Your appearance is all right, but I have a caution to give you. Over there, where we are going, I have procured for you the Sultan's daughter for a wife, with all the usual wedding gifts. Now, you must keep quiet. Say nothing except, 'How do you do?' and 'What's the news?' Let me do the talking." "All right," said the man. "That suits me exactly. Do you know what your name is?" "Of course I do." "Indeed? Well, what is it?" "Why, my name is Musa." "Not much," laughed Kpanja. "Your name is Sultan Ali." "Oh, is it?" said his master. "That's good." So they started forward again, and in a little while they saw soldiers running in every direction, and 14 of these joined them to escort them. Then they saw ahead of them the Sultan, and the viziers, and the emirs, and the judges, and the great men of the city, coming to meet them. "Now then," said Kpanja, "get off your horse and salute your father-in-law. That's him in the middle, wearing the sky-blue jacket." "All right," said the man, jumping off his horse, which was then led by a soldier. So the two met, and the sultans shook hands and kissed each other, and walked up to the palace together. Then they had a great feast, and made merry and talked until night, at which time Sultan Ali and the Kpanja were put into an inner room, with 3 soldiers at the door to guard and attend upon them. When the morning came, Kpanja went to the Sultan and said, "Master, we wish to attend to the business which brought us here. We want to marry your daughter, and the sooner the ceremony takes place, the better it will please the Sultan Ali." "Why, that's all right," said the Sultan. "The bride is ready. Let someone call the teacher, Mwalimu, and tell him to come at once." When Mwalimu arrived, the Sultan said, "See here, we want you to marry this gentleman to my daughter right away." "All right, I'm ready," said the teacher. So they were married. Early the next morning the Kpanja said to his master, "Now I'm off on a journey. I shall be gone about a week, but however long I am gone, don't you leave the house till I return. Goodbye." Then he went to the real Sultan and said, "Good master, Sultan Ali has ordered me to return to our town and put his house in order. He commands me to be here again in a week. If I do not return by that time, he will stay here until I come." The Sultan asked him if he would not like to have some soldiers go with him, but the Kpanja replied that he was quite competent to take care of himself, as his previous journeys had proved, and he preferred to go alone. So with mutual good wishes they parted. But Kpanja did not go in the direction of the old village. He struck off by another road through the forest, and after a time came to a very fine town of large, handsome houses. As he went through the principal street, right to the far end, he was greatly astonished to observe that the town seemed to have no inhabitants, for he saw neither man, woman, nor child in all the place. At the end of the main street he came upon the largest and most beautiful house he had ever seen, built of sapphire and turquoise and costly marbles. "Oh my," said Kpanja, "this house would just suit my master. I'll have to pluck up my courage and see whether this is deserted like the other houses in this mysterious town." So Kpanja knocked at the door and called, "Hello there," several times, but no one answered. And he said to himself, "This is strange. If there were no one inside, the door would be fastened on the outside. Perhaps they are in another part of the house, or asleep. I'll call again louder." So he called again, very loud and long, "Hullo, Tiachiri. Hullo." And directly an old woman inside answered, "Who is that calling so loudly?" "It is I, your grandchild, good mistress," said Kpanja. If you are my grandchild, replied the old woman, go back to your home at once. Don't come and die here, and bring me to my death also. Oh, come, said he. Open the door, mistress. I have just a few words I wish to say to you. My dear grandson, she replied, the only reason why I do not open the door is because I fear to endanger both your life and my own. Oh, don't worry about that. I guess your life and mine are safe enough for a while. Open the door, anyhow, and hear the little I have to say. So the old woman opened the door. Then they exchanged salutations and compliments, after which she asked the Kpanja, What's the news from your place, grandson? Oh, everything is going along pretty well, said he. What's the news around here? Ah, sighed the old creature. The news here is very bad. If you're looking for a place to die in, you've struck it here. I've not the slightest doubt you'll see all you want of death this very day. Ha, replied the Kpanja lightly. For a fly to pass on in honey is not bad for the fly, and doesn't injure the honey. It may be all very well for you to be easy about it, persisted the old woman. But if people with swords and shields did not escape, how can a little thing like you avoid danger? I must again beg of you to go back to the place you came from. Your safety seems of more interest to me than it is to you. Well, you see, I can't go back just now, and besides, I want to find out more about this place. Who owns it? Ah, grandson, in this house are enormous wealth, numbers of people, hundreds of horses, and the owner is Neokamku, the wonderfully big snake. He owns this whole town also. Oh, is that so? Said Kpanja. Look here, old lady. Can't you put me on to some plan of getting near this big snake, that I may kill him? Mercy, cried the old woman in a fright. Don't talk like that. You've put my life in danger already, for I'm sure Neokamku can hear what is said in this house, wherever he is. You see, I'm a poor old woman, and I have been placed here, with those pots and pans, to cook for him. Well, when the big snake is coming, the wind begins to blow, and the dust flies as it would do in a great storm. Then, when he arrives in the courtyard, he eats until he is full, and after that, goes inside there to drink water. When he is finished, he goes away again. This occurs every other day, just when the sun is overhead. I may add that Neokamku has 7 heads. Now then, do you think yourself a match for him? Look here, mother, said the Kpanja. Don't you worry about me. Has this big snake a sword? He has. This is it, said she, taking from its peg a very keen and beautiful blade and handing it to him. But what's the use in bothering about it? We are dead already. We shall see about that, said Kpanja. Just at that moment the wind began to blow and the dust to fly, as if a great storm were approaching. Do you hear the great one coming? Cried the old woman. Pshaw, said the Kpanja. I'm a great one also, and I have the advantage of being on the inside. 2 bulls can't live in one cattle pen. Either he will live in this house, or I will. Notwithstanding the terror the old lady was in, she had to smile at the assurance of this little undersized Kpanja, and repeated over again her account of the people with swords and shields who had been neutralized by the big snake. Ah, stop your gabbling, said the Kpanja. You can't always judge a banana by its color or size. Wait and see, Grandma. In a very little while the big snake, Neokamku, came into the courtyard and went around to all the pots and ate their contents. Then he came to the door. Hello, old lady, said he. How is it I smell a new kind of odor inside there? Oh, that's nothing, good master, replied the old woman. I've been so busy around here lately I haven't had time to look after myself. But this morning I used some perfume, and that's what you smell. Now, Kpanja had drawn the sword and was standing just inside the doorway. So, when the big snake put his head in, it was cut off so quickly that its owner did not know it was gone. When he put in his second head, it was cut off with the same quickness, and feeling a little irritation, he exclaimed, Who's inside there, scratching me? He then thrust in his third head, and that was cut off also. This continued until 6 heads had been disposed of, when Neokamku unfolded his rings and lashed around, so that the Kpanja and the old woman could not see one another through the dust. Then the snake thrust in his 7th head, and the Kpanja crying, Now your time has come, you've climbed many trees, but this you cannot climb, severed it, and immediately fell down in a fainting fit. Well, that old woman, although she was 75 years of age, jumped and shouted and laughed like a girl of 9. Then she ran and got water and sprinkled the Kpanja and turned him this way and that way until at last he sneezed, which greatly pleased the old person, who fanned him and tended him until he was quite recovered. "Oh my," said she, "who would have thought you could be a match for him, my grandson?" "Well, well," said Kpanja, "that's all over. Now show me everything around this place." So she showed him everything from top to bottom: storerooms full of goods, chambers full of expensive foods, rooms containing handsome people who had been kept prisoners for a long time, slaves, and everything. Next he asked her if there was any person who was likely to lay claim to the place or make any trouble, and she answered, "No one. Everything here belongs to you." "Very well, then," said he. "You stay here and take care of these things until I bring my master. This place belongs to him now." Kpanja stayed 3 days examining the house and said to himself, "Well, when my master comes here, he will be much pleased with what I have done for him, and he'll appreciate it after the life he's been accustomed to. As to his father-in-law, there is not a house in his town that can compare with this." On the 4th day he departed, and in due time arrived at the town where the Sultan and his master lived. Then there were great rejoicings, the Sultan being particularly pleased at his return, while his master felt as if he had received a new lease of life. After everything had settled down a little, Kpanja told his master he must be ready to go, with his wife, to his new home after 4 days. Then he went and told the Sultan that Sultan Ali desired to take his wife to his own town in 4 days, to which the Sultan strongly objected. But the Kpanja said it was his master's wish, and at last everything was arranged. On the day of the departure, a great company assembled to escort Sultan Ali and his bride. There were the bride's ladies-in-waiting, and slaves, and horsemen, and Kpanja leading them all. So they traveled 3 days, resting when the sun was overhead, and stopping each evening about 5 o'clock to eat and sleep, arising next morning at daybreak, eating and going forward again. And all this time the Kpanja took very little rest, going all through the company, from the ladies to the slaves, and seeing that every one was well supplied with food and quite comfortable. Therefore the entire company loved him and valued him like the apples of their eyes. On the 4th day, during the afternoon, many houses came into view, and some of the folks called Kpanja's attention to them. "Certainly," said he, "that is our town, and that house you see yonder is the palace of Sultan Ali." So they went on, and all the company filed into the courtyard, while the Kpanja and his master went into the house. When the old woman saw Kpanja, she began to dance and shout and carry on, just as she did when he killed Neokumku, and taking up his foot she kissed it. But Kpanja said, "Old lady, let me alone. The one to be made much of is this my master, Sultan Ali. Kiss his feet. He has the first honors whenever he is present." The old woman excused herself for not knowing the master, and then Sultan Ali and the Kpanja went around on a tour of inspection. The Sultan ordered all the prisoners to be released, the horses to be sent out to pasture, all the rooms to be swept, the furniture to be dusted, and in the meantime, servants were busy preparing food. Then everyone had apartments assigned to him, and all were satisfied. After they had remained there some time, the ladies who had accompanied the bride expressed a desire to return to their own homes. Kpanja begged them not to hurry away, but after a while they departed, each loaded with gifts by the Kpanja, for whom they had 1,000 times more affection than for his master. Then things settled down to their regular routine. One day the Kpanja said to the old woman, "I think the conduct of my master is very singular. I have done nothing but good for him all the time I have been with him. I came to this town and braved many dangers for him, and when all was over I gave everything to him. Yet he has never asked, 'How did you get this house? How did you get this town? Who is the owner of this house? Have you rented all these things, or have they been given you? What has become of the inhabitants of the place? I don't understand him. And further, although I have done nothing but good for him, he has never done one good thing for me. Nothing here is really his. He never saw such a house or town as this since the day he was born, and he doesn't own anything of it. I believe the old folks were right when they said, if you want to do any person good, don't do too much. Do him a little harm occasionally, and he'll think more of you. However, I've done all I can now, and I'd like to see him make some little return. Next morning the old woman was awakened early by the Kpanja calling, Mother, Mother. When she went to him, she found he was sick in his stomach, feverish, and all his legs ached. Go, said he, and tell my master I am very ill. So she went upstairs and found the master and mistress sitting on a marble couch, covered with a striped silk scarf from India. Well, said the master, what do you want, old woman? Oh, my master, cried she, Kpanja is sick. The mistress started and said, Dear me, what is the matter with him? All his body pains him. He is sick all over. Oh, well, said the master, what can I do? Go and get some of that red millet, that is too common for our use, and make him some gruel. Gracious, exclaimed his wife, staring at him in amazement. Do you wish her to feed our friend with stuff that a horse would not eat if he were ever so hungry? This is not right of you. Ah, get out, said he, you're crazy. We eat rice. Isn't red millet good enough for a Kpanja that cost only a dime? Oh, but he is no ordinary Kpanja. He should be as dear to you as the apple of your eye. If sand got in your eye, it would trouble you. You talk too much, returned her husband. Then, turning to the old woman, he said, Go and do as I told you. So the old woman went downstairs, and when she saw the Kpanja, she began to cry and say, Oh dear, oh dear. It was a long while before the Kpanja could persuade her to tell him what had passed upstairs, but at last she told him all. When he had heard it, he said, Did he really tell you to make me red millet gruel? Ah, cried she, do you think I would say such a thing if it were not so? Well, said Kpanja, I believe what the old folks said was right. However, we'll give him another chance. Go up to him again and tell him I am very sick and that I can't eat that gruel. So she went upstairs and found the master and mistress sitting by the window drinking coffee. The master, looking around and seeing her, said, What's the matter now, old woman? And she said, Master, I am sent by Kpanja. He is very sick indeed, and has not taken the gruel you told me to make for him. Oh bother, he exclaimed. Hold your tongue, and keep your feet still, and shut your eyes, and stop your ears with wax. Then if that Kpanja tells you to come up here, say that your legs are stiff, and if he tells you to listen, say your ears are deaf, and if he tells you to look, say your sight has failed you, and if he wants you to talk, tell him your tongue is paralyzed. When the old woman heard these words, she stood and stared, and was unable to move. As for his wife, her face became sad, and the tears began to start from her eyes, observing which, her husband said sharply, What's the matter with you, Sultan's daughter? The lady replied, A man's madness is his undoing. Why do you say that, mistress? He inquired. Ah, said she, I am grieved, my husband, at your treatment of Kpanja. Whenever I say a good word for the Kpanja, you dislike to hear it. I pity you that your understanding is gone. What do you mean by talking in that manner to me? He blustered. Why, advice is a blessing, if properly taken. A husband should advise with his wife, and a wife with her husband. Then they are both blessed. Oh, stop, said her husband impatiently. It's evident you've lost your senses. You should be chained up. Then he said to the old woman, Never mind her talk, and as to this Kpanja, tell him to stop bothering me and putting on style, as if he were the Sultan. I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't sleep, because of that Kpanja worrying me with his messages. First, the Kpanja is sick, then, the Kpanja doesn't like what he gets to eat. Confound it. If he likes to eat, let him eat. If he doesn't like to eat, let him die and be out of the way. My mother is dead, and my father is dead, and I still live and eat. Shall I be put out of my way by a Kpanja that I bought for a dime, telling me he wants this thing or that thing? Go and tell him to learn how to behave himself toward his superiors. When the old woman went downstairs, she found the Kpanja was bleeding at the mouth, and in a very bad way. All she could say was, My son, the good you did is all lost, but be patient. And the Kpanja wept with the old woman when she told him all that had passed, and he said, "Mother, I am dying, not only from sickness, but from shame and anger at this man's ingratitude." After a while, Kpanja told the old woman to go and tell the master that he believed he was dying. When she went upstairs, she found Ali chewing sugar cane, and she said to him, "Master, the Kpanja is worse. We think him nearer to dying than getting well." To which he answered, "Haven't I told you often enough not to bother me?" Then his wife said, "Oh, husband, won't you go down and see the poor Kpanja? If you don't like to go, let me go and see him. He never gets a single good thing from you." But he turned to the old woman and said, "Go and tell that nuisance of a Kpanja to die 11 times if he chooses to." "Now, husband," persisted the lady, "what has Kpanja done to you? Has he done you any wrong? Such words as yours people use to their enemies only. Surely the Kpanja is not your enemy. All the people who know him, great and lowly, love him dearly, and they will think it very wrong of you if you neglect him. Now do be kind to him, Sultan Ali." But he only repeated his assertion that she had lost her wits, and would have nothing further of argument. So the old woman went down and found the Kpanja worse than ever. In the meantime, Sultan Ali's wife managed to give some rice to a servant to cook for the Kpanja, and also sent him a soft shawl to cover him and a pillow to lie upon. She also sent him a message that if he wished, she would have her father's best physicians attend him. All this was too late, however, for just as these good things arrived, Kpanja died. When the people heard he was dead, they went running around crying and having an awful time. And when Sultan Ali found out what all the commotion was about, he was very indignant, remarking, "Why, you are making as much fuss as if I were dead, and all over a Kpanja that I bought for a dime." But his wife said, "Husband, it was this Kpanja that came to ask me of my father. It was he who brought me from my father's, and it was to him I was given by my father. He gave you everything good, and you do not possess a thing that he did not procure for you. He did everything he could to help you, and you not only returned him unkindness, but now he has passed on, and you have ordered people to throw him into the well. Let us alone, that we may weep." But the Kpanja was taken and thrown into the well. Then the lady wrote a letter telling her father to come to her directly, and dispatched it by trusty messengers, upon the receipt of which the Sultan and his attendants started hurriedly to visit his daughter. When they arrived and heard that the Kpanja was dead and had been thrown into the well, they wept very much, and the Sultan and the Vizier and the judges and the rich chief men all went down into the well and brought up the body of Kpanja and took it away with them and buried it. Now that night the lady dreamt that she was at home at her father's house, and when dawn came she awoke and found she was in her own bed in her own town again. And her husband dreamed that he was on the dust heap, scratching, and when he awoke there he was, with both hands full of dust, looking for grains of millet. Staring wildly he looked around to the right and left, saying, "Oh, who has played this trick on me? How did I get back here, I wonder?" Just then the children going along, and seeing him, laughed and hooted at him, calling out, "Hello, Musa, where have you been? Where do you come from? We thought you were dead long ago." So the Sultan's daughter lived in happiness with her people until the end, and that beggar man continued to scratch for grains of millet in the dust heap until he died. If this story is good, the goodness belongs to all. If it is bad, the badness belongs only to him who told it.